Hello guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome back to my channel. So finally the preliminary report is here for the UPS flight 2976 which crashed 15 days ago, and the accident took place on November 4th, killing 14 people alongside 3 crew on the flight, marking it as the deadliest air accident in US history. So if you're gonna go through this document, I'll share that link to you in the description box below, or you can also check it up at the NTSB official website. So please do note guys that this is the initial preliminary observation of the investigation, but the final report may take years long, so we will get you that as well. Right, so now let's go to the documentation what I've gone through so far. So let's go to the focus areas for now. So you can see this is the frame shots of the UPS 2976 just moments when it was initiating the V1 rotate speed right here. So this is what investigators observed, the first impact points where it started. So starting up with the frame 1. So you can clearly see that the plane was cruising up at 184 knots via runway 17 right at Louisville, and you can clearly see the moment when the pilot begins rotate speed. So you will pull the stick up, right? So the left engine, you can see the left engine's angle suddenly changed. So then afterwards what happened is, in the second frame, the left engine alongside the pylon got separated, is what the investigators discovered during the post-crash analysis, that the left engine alongside the pylon got separated, and then in the third and fourth frame, so the soon after the left engine separation, it impacted the left wing fuel tank, which got ruptured and ignited with a ball of fire right there at first hand, and simultaneously it also impacted the hydraulic systems. And basically hydraulic systems controls both wings, flaps, slats. It's like a nerve center of the aircraft. So if you lose one nerve, then you cannot control the aircraft properly. So that's the situation what happened here during the separation of the left engine, and with that impact shows there's no way you can survive even at a very low altitude at 175 feet, what it was recorded in flight radar 24. But look at the frame shot 4. You clearly notice that the angle of separation of the left engine, you see guys, that it flipped over the fuselage of the MD-11 and then landed on the right side of the runway 17 right. And in a previous video, I too was puzzled to see the image of the left engine, why it got separated and why it landed on the right side of the runway 17 right. That's the reason why you can see on the frame shot 4, which is unbelievable to watch this way. And then in the 5th and 6th frame shots, clearly see that after the separation, the pilot started struggling because of that loss of left engine. And aerodynamically, context means if you lose one left engine, the plane will bank violently to the left, and because of that weight of that right engine also, that usually exceeds the balance of the aircraft. So that's the reason where the pilots started struggling to maneuver the aircraft at that stage. But again, I would like to tell you this again guys, at 175 feet, when this sudden impact took place, means again there is no way you can survive this. It's end of the line. And I should say that these pilots risked their lives. I mean, ultimately they knew that they have no chance to even survive this, but again they risked everything they had to control the aircraft properly. But man, it's unbelievable to see, especially the separation of the left engine like this. I mean, I would never ever forget this after all. Right, now let's go down, and this is another footage. This could be at a warehouse, one of the CCTV footages at a warehouse. You can clearly see that how the fire is engulfing the left wing completely after the separation, and that's where the exact moment that, because of that, the aerodynamically, to say that when you lose the left engine, the plane banged to the left and slammed into the industrial town. And this is the overall flight track of 2976, just what you can see right here. And this is the overall crash site of the UPS 2976. And you can clearly see that in the aerial shots in a previous video I've shown you, right? That is the UPS supply chain warehouse. What I initially suspected was the first contact of the MD-11's landing gear. So finally confirmed from the investigators that it was the first contact with the supply chain warehouse right here. Then simultaneously it dragged on and on, crashing into this industrial town right here, creating a huge ball of fire. And you can see the land itself, it completely charred up. And I mean, this was so apocalyptic. Even when you watch that CCTV footages and eyewitness accounts, what you've seen, it was so apocalyptic, and I will never forget that again and again. So let's look at the crew experience right now. You can clearly see that the captain has accumulated 8,613 flight hours, and the first officer has experience of 9,200, which is, well, obviously they are very well experienced crew on board this flight. And alongside, the relief officer, who is the third pilot on that flight, also has a 15,250 flight hours. So like I told you, they are very well experienced crew on board. And they also recovered the flight data recorder and cockpit voice recorders. So they contain around 2 hours and 4 minutes of recorded data. Right. So even in the cockpit voice recordings, also what they discovered is that during that initial sequence of the left engine separation, the alarm rang up, which you can hear that right now.
Engine 1, fire.
Right, so now you heard that that was a left engine fire chime call on board the cockpit voice recorder. That's where the moment where suddenly they realized that the engine 1 caught fire, but they didn't know that the left engine got separated. So that was the most difficult moment for the pilots to even realize that. They initially thought that, okay, there was an engine fire, but they didn't expect the engine separation. So again, it's unbelievable to even understand the scale of the tragedy. And then let's go down to this, the pylon assembly, what we all initially suspected, the area of concern of the investigation, what they focused on to. So I do have another image of the overall view of how the engine pylon assembly looks like. So I'm going to show you that. All right, guys. So as you can see on my screen, so this is the architecture of the engine to pylon assembly, what it looks like. So starting up with the engine mounting. Okay, so this is the engine to pylon forward mount right here. And this is the aft mount of the engine to pylon. So these two bolts connect to the engine, right? And then these two bolts here, you can see the front and rear, these are the pylon forward bulkhead and pylon aft bulkhead. So these two connect to the wings. Okay, so I do have one replica for you, but this is common for every aircraft. Okay, so this is a 777 here. Okay, assuming this is as an MD-11. Okay, so now you can clearly see, I hope you can clearly see right here, the engine mount. Okay, this is the forward engine to pylon mount. This is clamped to the engine right here. Then this is the aft. The aft is where this is connected. Okay, this is the aft mount, exactly right here. All right, then comes to the pylon forward bulkhead. So if I can show you in this angle, just right up here, okay, you can clearly see this is the clamp of the pylon which I connected to the wings. Okay, so that's where the pylon forward bulkhead and aft bulkhead are assembled with the wings, just right up here in this. Okay, I hope you can see that on your screen. Now let's focus on to this section, what investigators are focused on. So this is the pylon to wing assembly. Okay, so these are the two bearings here. This is the forward pylon bulkheads. This is the lower forward spherical bearings. Okay, so that's where you can see the direction here. That's where the engine is there. Okay, and then you have the thrust link. So thrust link is nothing but when you initiate a takeoff thrust. So what happens is that the amount of vibration which is generating it, okay, not only on the wings but also to the engine. So this is where the thrust link is placed. So to the balance the amount of stress that the engine is accumulating during its initial takeoff sequence. Okay, and then we have the aft spherical bearing. This is the aft pylon bulkhead. That's the end of the pylon assembly. That's where you connect to the wings here. This is the rear end. Okay, and these are the forward and aft spherical bearings. All right, now let's look at the investigators' pictures, what they have showcased on this aft spherical bearings, especially the aft pylon bulkheads. So let's focus on that. All right, so now you've understood what exactly the engine to pylon assembly looks like and wing to pylon assembly looks like. So now in this image, what NTSB has shared here is the area of concern where the left engine separation alongside the pylon separation started. So that is the rear end of the pylon to wing assembly mount. So for that case, they also segregated further here. So this is how the assembly looks like. Okay, so this is the forward lug, this is the aft lug, which is further connected with this spherical bearing is placed between the forward and aft lugs, followed by the wing clevis. Right, so to make it even more simpler, guys, that NTSB has shared this real image view of how the pylon to wing assembly looks like. So this is the wing clevis, what I've been trying to tell you. This is the forward lug and aft lugs. Right. Now, based on the examination of the pylon to wing assembly mounts, what it discovered is that the left engine alongside the left pylon, including its forward and aft mounts, okay, the fragments of engine fan blades and separated pieces from the left engine were found on and adjacent to the runway 17 right. So what it clearly states that during the takeoff sequence, when the left engine and left pylon got separated simultaneously, what they also discovered is that most of the engine fan blades also broken during the separation sequence. And if you look into that frame shot sequence between 3 and 4 frame shots, what you can see that pictures on your screen right there, during that angle of separation, the engine blades suffered severe damage during that separation sequence, and that's where most of the pieces were scattered on the right side of the runway 17 right alongside the left engine, what investigators have told in this report. All right, and speaking about the right engine, well, obviously it remained attached with the right wing pylon during the takeoff sequence, and even you can see in eyewitness footages also clearly visibly showing that the right engine still mounted, but the left engine is missing right there. Right, then coming to this picture of the forward lug and aft lug, as I've initially told you that they found some fatigue cracks. Okay, so this is where they discover the fatigue cracks, okay, between the mounts. Right, and this is the spherical bearing. All right, so this is what originally spherical bearing looks like before the assembly, and this is the impact. Right, and this is the wing clevis. All right, so now let's focus into the NTSB's metallurgical report, what they found out on the rear end left wing to pylon assembly mount. What you can see here, this is the forward lug, aft lug, this is spherical bearing and wing clevis. So what they discovered is that the left pylon aft mount lugs found evidence of fatigue cracks. That means this aft lugs, both forward and aft lugs, have shown the signs of fatigue cracks in addition to area of overstress failures. And on the aft lug, both inboard and outboard fracture surfaces, they also found the signs of fatigue cracks where the aft lug bore met the aft lug forward face. So in simple terms, what the NTSB is trying to address here is that when this MD-11 is on a full takeoff thrust, so the amount of stress what is accumulating on the pylon assembly mounts between the pylon to wings especially. So because of that overstress reaction, these forward lugs and aft lugs have succumbed to fatigue cracks. So the cracks have generated further more and more and more, and then when the plane was initiated V1 rotate speed, okay, at that result, the left engine alongside the pylon separated, damaging the left wing fuel tank and also losing the hydraulics. So you can check that again in the frames 3 and 4, what you can see that pictures on your screen. That is the exact moment that because of that amount of overstress of this forward and aft lugs, okay, that has subjected to the separation of the left engine and left pylon, and also you can clearly see that the angle of separation, how it went through. So that was that amount of stress it has accumulated. All right, so now let's focus on to the maintenance and inspections of the left wing pylon assembly, what they have done. So at the time of the accident, the November 259 uniform Papa has accumulated at a total time of 92,992 hours. This is way more exceeding than ever, because ultimately this MD-11 is of 34 years old, and at this particular rate, I mean, this is unimaginable. It's supposed to be gone for scrap ultimately. I don't know why FedEx and UPS are still operating MD-11s and why they haven't phased out yet. But because of this maintenance, like I told you previously, that if one MD-11 is under scrap and another MD-11 is under operation, so what the maintenance workers do is that they will take the spare parts of the decommissioned MD-11 and they will refit into the MD-11s which are operating now. It's like you're cannibalizing some of the parts from the scrapped MD-11s to the originally operating MD-11. So like I've told you this in a previous video, and this is what exactly what it looks like in general when it comes to this number of hours of flight cycles. I mean, this is unbelievable, guys. And they also done the review of inspection task for the left pylon aft mounts, both with the general visual inspections, and that inspection took place on October 28, 2021. And then they also performed a 24-month or 4,800 hours lubrication task of the pylon thrust links and pylon bearings. That was done on October 18, 2025. The detailed inspection, what they mention here is that the left pylon aft mount lugs would have been due at 29,200 cycles, and the left wing clevis support should have been at 28,000 cycles. So both of these cycles that have not been accomplished because it was under 21,043 cycles. So ultimately, this maintenance procedure has to be changed, because this really alarmed me that 92,992 hours at that much level. Why are you going to do upgrades with this MD-11, which is supposed to be retired by this year, and even at 34 years old, like I told you before? This is impossible. So that's the reason the FAA has issued the Emergency Airworthiness Directive by grounding the MD-11s, MD-10s, DC-10s, and MD-11Fs to inspect its structural integrity of the entire MD-11 fleets, right? Not only from the airframe wise, but also from the avionics as well, right? So one such operators other than FedEx and UPS, which are modified as fire tankers, which you can see that picture on your screen, and alongside the Orbis Eye Hospital, which you can see that on your screen right there. That's actually the DC-10s that they operate. So they have to watch carefully when it comes to what their maintenance procedures were when it comes to upgrading each parts of the MD-11s or DC-10s, what they're operating now. So when it comes to the similar events, well, this is what it really paid off, because in previous video I was really speculated that the left engine separation of the UPS 2976 was really reminiscent to the American Flight 191 in 1979, 41 years ago, when this incident happened. I mean, it really paid off, and everyone really knew that it was a maintenance error, but ultimately, back in 1979, the American Airlines were they operating the DC-10s, okay? That time, the airframe age was supposed to be between 4 to 5 years, and at that time, they claimed to be as a maintenance error. Why? Because when they were disassembling the engine from the pylon, what maintenance workers realized that, okay, let's not disassemble the engine itself, let's disassemble the pylon itself from the wing. So they disassembled the pylon from the wing, and later, when they reassembled the pylon to the wing, they did not properly align well. So it was a shortcut method that the maintenance workers did, and ultimately led to the separation of the left engine. But in the case of the UPS 2976, the airframe age was obviously it's very old, and there was a signs of structural degradation like the fatigue cracks what investigators have found out between the forward and aft lugs between a pylon to wing assembly mount. So that is where they realized that it's time to phase out the MD-11s effective immediately because of the safety concerns. So that's why the investigators immediately caught up an attention on this American 191, and it really, what I initially suspected, it really paid off. I mean, this is unbelievable to imagine. So this is the overall preliminary report of the UPS flight 2976. What initially discovered was the fatigue cracks on the forward and aft lugs, which led to the overstress of the pylon mounts, and which later further resulted the separation of the left engine alongside the pylon assembly completely. So that is the ultimate result of the separation of the left engine and pylon. This is again what I'm showing it to you right here. That's the exact reason what it all started. But there's still much more investigation to continue. But like I told you at the start of the video, that this is the initial preliminary observation of the investigation. So we're gonna see the final report in more than, I don't know, maybe next year, or it may take even more further. So let's hope that that report comes at the earliest. But good job from the NTSB to provide the preliminary report just within the 2 weeks after the crash of UPS flight 2976. But again, in the end, I would say this was in fact the most devastating tragedy I've never seen in Louisville, Kentucky. So I will never forget such moments. So that's it, guys. So thank you so much for watching this video. So please like and subscribe to my channel, and we'll see you again in the next one, guys. So until then, guys, fast flights and soft landings.